What's up guys, Varuk here, and today I have with me my good friend MrLevi on the call. Today we are doing a tier list for World of Kings. Right now we are in the 2.0 version of this game, and so this is going to be a tier list for the 2.0 classes. And let me just say kind of right at the outset, and Levi, do you think this might be the case? It's going to be very controversial. Some people are going to be very upset, and I just want to say that this is just our opinion. And we're going to kind of discuss it and work through this list together and try to unpack why we place certain classes where we place them. And I just hope this is helpful overall. It's just kind of a fun thing to do. People like tier lists.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so Levi, are you excited to do this with me? I'm kind of nervous.
Absolutely. And just to reinforce that, like, we're not saying we know everything. We're not perfect. If you happen to disagree with us and you have some information that we may have missed, just go ahead and post it in the comment section.
We need to have some comment warriors up in here.
No, let's avoid the warring. Let's have some educational discussions.
Dude, this might actually be the end of my YouTube career. Okay, so let's go ahead and break into the let's go break into it. Let's start with the Arcane Scholar. These are not in any particular order. We just kind of uploaded them all into here at once, and so they're all out of order and not where they should be. But Arcane Scholar, I'll just let you start. What do you think about the Arcane Scholar, Levi?
I think Arcane Scholar is like really strong. I'm not sure if they're the best in the game. I would put them in S tier, but keep in mind that they would be high S tier, like close to double S.
What do you think would prevent them from kind of being in the SS tier?
I think that in small scale PvE or PvP rather, they're really weak, and their damage in PvP is their damage in PvE is insane. However, it is lower than some of the classes that we will put in double S. But yeah, what they do have is, once again, really awesome damage for PvE. Their siege potential, mass PvP, is fantastic with their CC and their damage.
Their ultimate's like super good too.
Yeah. Really
helpful. It speeds up everybody's casting, so it's really good for like DPS phase pushes or like right at the beginning of the fight to help everybody ramp up. Arcane Scholars are pretty much a staple. And kind of to tag along the back of that, we're going to do the Crystal Shaper soon after this. We're just going to make our way down the line. But what I think makes Arcane Scholar promising, at least right now, is the fact that we happen to know that in 3.0, the Arcane Scholar and the Crystal Shaper are going to be like the SS top tier DPS. I'm not sure exactly.
At least in the Asia server.
That's the Asia server.
We don't know if we're going to follow it exactly, but that's how it's looking.
It's looking good for that class, but really that's just a good class. Let's move on to the Archon. What do you think about the Archon? Wait, I'll do this one. How about that? I'll do this and you tell me what you think. I think the Archon should go in A. And okay, first of all, Archon is a fantastic healer. Super good. Really hard to kill in small scale PvP. But I wouldn't put it like SS or S because there are other healers that do its job better. Like, let's say the Saint has really good burst heals, and the buffs that the Archon provides, I think that there's a lot of conflict between healer buffs, and so the Archon's flag, for instance, is a really good, the banner is a really good heal, but at the same time it overrides other buffs that you would get from other healers that would be better. And so it requires you to stack, and I don't know. I know that they're very good in small scale PvP just because they're really hard to kill. But other than that, I just think that other healers are just better. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's necessarily super important to have a tanky healer in PvE, because generally a healer's not going to be taking a lot of damage, and other healers have enough defense if they do get hit by mechanics like living bombs or whatnot. Archon just misses a bit of that mobility, utility, and their buffing and healing is a bit lower than some others. But like you said, I think they can belong in A tier for the sheer fact that in small scale PvP they're beasts.
Yes, and I think that just while we're talking about buffs, right? I think that the buffs that they could provide, if you compare it to like what the next one, a bard gives you 50% crit damage increase. Like, that's just insane. So if you're the Archon is a very good class. So don't be disappointed if you have it. And I think we should, before things start to get dicey, Levi, I think we should explain that anybody and everybody can play any of these classes regardless of what your gear is and be like a pro, be very good. So we're going to get to some of the classes that we're going to slot in the C grade. And I just want to say that it's possible for people in C grade to be really, really good at their class and to outshine other people. And so don't think that just because we put it in like a B or a C that it's just a horrible class and you should never play it. Like, play what you want, play what you think is fun. Again, this is simply just kind of our synopsis and our understanding of where we should slot all these classes as compared to the other classes. So you think A is good for Archon, yeah?
Absolutely.
Okay, next one, Bard. I'll let you do it. What do you think, man? I think we might agree.
That's a double S, baby.
That's a double S, bro.
That's an instant double S.
The first double S. Why is it double S?
Why is it double S?
Yeah.
Because when it comes to raid healing, which is most of the in-game, they are amazing. They, like, you just stack all your players in one area. They get that a crazy 50% buff. They get lots of heals with the 2-piece tier 1 bard set. They can pop that AoE cleanse like every 5 seconds or so.
Yes.
Like, just the amount of utility this class has is crazy. And if it's built right in PvP, it can be pretty darn tanky too.
Yeah, and it's like almost, okay, having a bard in your raid or two bards it makes the quality of life for the entire raid so easy. Like, it's so convenient to have bards because they can just pop their AoE heal and it just keeps pulsing. And if we're taking a lot of raid damage and you have two bards, they can kind of just, and they're just there. There really is no situation where you're like, oh crap, heal everybody up quick. Like, they're just kind of that constant sustained damage or sustained healing, and you know, along with that 50% crit damage buff, it's just, that's crazy. Very, very good. All right, Levi, it's time to get in trouble. Battlemage is next.
All right, Battlemage.
Battlemage. I'll take the heat, dude, because
yeah, go for it.
I've had a few people tell me that I have no idea what I'm talking about. Let me challenge that. Okay, Battlemage, a tank class. I'm gonna slot it SS. And let me justify that. The Battlemage is a very good tank. It is the best tank hands down in PvP. Nothing touches it, hands down. It's a PvP class. But if you swap over into PvE, this class can do everything that the other tanks can do. For example, stay alive. That's a tank's job. A tank's job is to stay alive, and the Battlemage can stay alive. Like, sure, the Vanguard and other tanks have all these crazy mitigations, but the Battlemage's mastery basically increases his armor and resistance and his defenses by what, like 60-70% at tier 4, and it just makes this class have just such a crazy stat pool to pull from. Like, I'm talking like 20. What is Feliun at right now? Battle rating like over
24,
like 24,000 battle rating, and that's because of the pure defensive stats that they get. So even without any mitigations, they're getting hit and they're able to just survive. They're able to survive. They deal really well with slant, and then in addition to that, so first of all, stack it up against other tanks. Other tanks, the job is to not die. Battlemage doesn't die, so they're rare. You know, I've never been in a raid where we're having tanking issues with the Battlemage because they keep dying. And then in addition to that, they have all these utility moves like teleport. They can reposition bosses faster. If they get Warhammer Peak, if you get 20 stacks, you're given this huge bomb that could blow up and wipe the raid. There's a little bit more workability and kind of play with the Battlemage. They can just teleport away. It's very, very convenient, and they have a lot of utility. What do you have to say about that, Levi? What do you think?
Yeah, I would like to just clarify that when we're talking about their mastery with them getting all that extra defense and magic defense, we're not trying to say they are more tanky than the other tanks. They're not, except for maybe Dragonrider. But the other tanks in general, yes, they are more tanky. However, like Varuk said, it's not generally an issue that tanks are dying. That's not an issue. When you have the blink and they can just cheat mechanics, or they can just instantly move without making themselves vulnerable by turning their back to the boss, it's just amazing. It's just amazing utility, and the fact that generally your tanks aren't dying anyway, having that awesome utility is it makes him the best PvE and PvP tank.
Yeah, and just something to stress too. This could change in the future. I understand and I heard that, I guess, as the game progresses, certain tanks are going to kind of pull forward, and so that's something to be excited about, keeping out for more updated tier lists in the future. This is simply just how it is at the current point in the game in 2.0. Anything else to say about that, Levi? You want to go to the next one?
Yeah, let's go to the next one before people hate us too much.
Okay. Next
Wait,
one.
this is gonna help.
Yeah, this is not going to help. Next one's Berserker. Go ahead, Levi. You can do the damage on that one.
Thanks a lot. All right, I'm sorry, Berserker mains. I'm gonna have to put you down in that C tier.
Down in that C tier, and justify it. Why?
Berserkers are kind of worse weapon masters. They kind of specialize in AoE, but not only are there not very many situations where they're going to be AoEing things, but their AoE isn't that strong. So it's like you're trying to create a weaker single target weapon master that's just not better at AoE. So I honestly think the developers went wrong with this. It's just, I from what I understand with their tier 3 set, they become beasts in DPS, but we're not to that level 80 patch yet. So as it stands right now, Berserker, I'm sorry, but you just ain't cutting it.
Yeah, it doesn't mean it's bad. You could be a good Berserker. Let us know what you think in the comment section. Next up is Blademaster. I'm gonna just plunk that one right up there in SS right off the bat. The reason is because, and this is a variation of the rogue class, Blademasters right now are pretty much the strongest DPS in the game. They have the
minus Frost Whisper.
Minus Frost Whisper. Depends on your gear.
I say they're pretty much about the same.
Yeah, pretty much about the same in terms of damage, but Blademasters are super, super good because their whole kit are damage over time abilities. So if you've seen my videos in the past, you understand the slant mechanic and how dots bypass the slant mechanic. Blademasters are just a phenomenal class. Why am I talking about this? You're the Blademaster, Levi. What am I doing?
I don't know.
You take it. Just take it over, man. I just realized I was stealing your thunder, my dog.
Yeah, no, you good. Yeah, so Blademasters, you just go Illusion Mastery, press one button, and get number 1 DPS. But no, the dots are absolutely amazing. You don't have to build heavily into crit rate. You can just build a lot of attack, which is actually tends to be easier. And that makes your dot do more damage. Force release applying on the dot, like we'll go over it in a sneak peek, maybe a Blademaster guide sometime soon, but basically you just put that dot on, you can walk away, and it's just doing so much damage. Obviously if you're not AFK, you're going to be doing more. It's just sheer damage output. In PvP they can also be really useful. After all, they are rogues and they do have access to the Night Ninja Mastery, which is probably the most broken mastery in the game. And as far as their tier 2 set goes, like this is all with the tier 1 set without even tier 2 set. When they get to tier set, their DPS is going to go up even more because adding a lot more damage over time. They're just a really awesome DPS class in general.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think SS is appropriate for them. Next up, Chaos Warlock. I'll be honest, I don't know too much about them.
Yeah, all I have to go on Chaos Warlock is what I've heard from friends who play these classes. But I'm gonna. Oh, actually, it's your turn, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I would slot them in B simply because of the fact that I don't know terribly too much about them, but at the same time, I know that they're a dot dealing class. They deal damage, of course, but I know that the Necromancer is just way better. So that's my understanding as it goes right now. I think that the Chaos Warlock I would just slot in B because if you slotted it up against its brother, the Necromancer, it's going to just pale in comparison. And again,
it's kind of like a Weapon Master Berserker situation.
Yeah, but not quite to the extent of being a Berserker. Yeah, so I'll slot it in B. Would you agree with that?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, Crystal Shaper. Next up, Crystal Shaper.
Yep, I'll put Crystal Shaper probably. I would put it high A to low S.
I was gonna say that too.
In A is because I don't think it's on the level as Arcane. It still does a ton of damage. It just doesn't have that amazing utility of the alt. Still has awesome damage, awesome CC. There's not too much else to say about it. in
So
my opinion.
it's pretty much the same class as the Arcane Scholar, but it just doesn't give you that ultimate that increases your attack speed. It's not like that haste ultimate.
Yeah.
Just the Arcane Scholar just with a worse ultimate. Next up, Demon Hunter. Huh. You know what? I kind of want to put them high A or S. Just because I know that their damage capability is there. But also you're going to get Carpal Tunnel if you play this class. I'm just going to tell you right now.
I would personally, I'd say high A before low S. I think they're more high A tier in my opinion, but it's up to you.
I think high is appropriate. I think A is appropriate. And again, that's just because you compare it to, you know, we'll justify it later. Like the Marksman, for example, is just a better class. They have a way better ultimate.
All right, we'll talk about it. Don't you dare get ahead of yourself.
I'm getting ahead of myself, man. All right, Dragonrider. What's Dragonrider? What's the verdict on that?
I would personally put Dragonrider in B. I think that in Sieges, this class is awesome. In fact, in all PvP is pretty good, but specifically in Sieges, that like long range AoE fear is fantastic. However, in PvE, it's really lacking. It doesn't have the utility of like a battle mage necessarily. It specializes in taking magic damage, so it's really weak to classes like rogues or boss auto attacks. And like I said, generally tanking isn't much of an issue. So I still don't think Dragon Rider is bad. Like as far as all the tanks goes, all the tanks can clear all the content. Like we're ranking kind of tanks against each other, but in general, all the tanks are good. I would just say if we're ranking all the tanks in order, I would put Dragon Rider in B.
I totally agree. And next up, Exarch. Gosh, how did this become my turn? I'm going to have a friend who's going to be really mad at me, but I'm going to throw the Exarchs. Oh gosh, dude, I can see the comments already. Ugh.
You gotta do it.
But I put Exarch in C. The Saint is just way better. Like if you're comparing just pure healers, the Saint's better. Burst AoE heals, you don't need to be next to each other, and the Exarch just kind of lacks.
Exarch kind of tries to be a Saint and a Lightbringer, but fails at both.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the other two later, but I think that if we're talking about just healers, right, like a Archon or a Bard or some of the other ones that we're going to talk about, it's gonna explain. It's like once we fill this out, you're gonna look at the C classes that we ranked as C, and it's gonna make sense why they're there. Again, we have a friend who's a really good Exarch, and he kills it, right? But if we're just talking about the class and their kit and their specific ability, Firefrost.
Yeah, I guess we got a double whammy here. I would also put that in C.
I would put it in C too.
I just don't see it doing as much damage as a Flamesinger or Frost Whisper, and it doesn't have the PvP survivability of like a Frost Whisper. It's just not super great.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, that is what it is. It's why would you not go Frost Whisper or Flamesinger? That's what I'm saying. Flamesinger, I want to put them in either high A or S.
Yeah. To be honest, I'm thinking S kind of makes sense for them. Like, they're boring, but they do a lot of damage.
They do a lot of damage. Their AoE is freaking bananas, and then they have they're mainly dot based. Like I have a friend Swiss who's a Flamesinger. Dude kills it in high level overlords.
Actually, I think they're not even dot based. Correct me if I'm wrong. They just have dots that can do really well in high level overlords. But if you're like not slanted, you just build full crit and do crazy damage. Like
full haste. Full
haste? No, full haste for high level overlords. Full crit for non-slant.
Oh, I thought we were talking about slant. Yeah, slant, full haste.
Not slant. You can just build full crit on a Flamesinger and do some crazy damage.
Yeah. So I would say S. I would say S.
I would say the reason it's not going to go to SS is just because it is a pure glass cannon. That's all it does. There's no other utility in small scale PvP. It just gets destroyed. It's just glass cannon, but it is a good one.
Yeah, and speaking of glass cannons, I want to do this next one because of course it's my class. And that's the Frost Whisper. Frost Whisper, dude, just right up there on top. SS, undisputed best killer, undisputed best survivability. I guess as like a hard hitting DPS class in PvP. If you compare it to the Flame Singer, it is a more hard hitting, more concise hitting Flame Singer, but it has frost abilities which slow enemies, so it makes it easier to escape. You have things like Ice Block and Frost Whisper. It's insane. PvE, super high burst damage, super high damage in general, a little bit better than the Blademaster if it's geared correctly. And when it comes to PvP, the best class in terms of killing, the best class. You look at the damage or the kill scores for castle sieges, and the Frost Whisper, literally every single time, if the person has thumbs and knows how to play the game, they're going to get the most kills. And that's because of Ice Spike. Ice Spike one-shots people. There are multiple times whenever I go into a PvP match where I'm hitting people for like 850, 900k damage, and I'll even throw out one Ice Spike, and if I have Cleave on, it hits 2 adjacent targets. I've hit 2 of them for like over 700k, and they both died instantly. It's a crazy class. It's super good. There really is literally no downside to this class, and they have teleport. It's an amazing class.
Yeah, you done going off about your class now?
I'm done going off about my class. Gladiator, your turn, Levi. Good luck.
You know, you took 2 turns in a row.
Okay, we'll make it fair. I took 2 in a row, so you can take 2 in a row now. Gladiator and Guardian.
You. I really appreciate it. All right, Gladiator, I'm sorry, but you got to go to C.
Yeah, go to C.
You suffer some of the same problems as Berserkers. You just don't do that much damage. You're technically a DPS class. You don't do that much damage, but you're still squishy. You do have some decent CC, but there's something in this game that exists called Iron Will, and it just negates it.
Yeah, it'll shut down your whole kit.
If you're like super geared in PvE, you can still do a lot of damage. But if you're super geared in any other class, you're gonna do more. So
yeah,
as far as DPS classes goes, I'd say Gladiator is probably as bottom of the barrel gets.
Yeah. But we've seen someone we have a friend named Zooks who does savage damage as a Gladiator, like in PvE, just savage. But he. You know, he's the 1%. So again, it just kind of showcases that even though your class might be tiered in a low category, according to our opinion, doesn't mean it's bad. Guardian, next Absolutely. Up for you, Levi. Guardian.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate this a lot.
I'm so happy you get to do this.
Guardian, I would probably put it, as far as tank ranking goes, I'd probably put it about the same as a Dragonrider, so B tier. Yeah. I think that Vanguard just does everything better. Like, Guardians can still be good tanks, like really good tanks, but Vanguards just do it better. I don't think there's too much else to say about Guardian.
Yeah, I completely agree. Inquisitor, this one is kind of hard for me to slot. I kind of want to put it in B, and that's because here's the thing: I've seen Inquisitors just pop off. Their DPS paladin just pop off, but their kit is like solely based on RNG. Am I incorrect about that?
No, I forgot what the skill's called, but from what I understand, talking to a lot of Inquisitors, like either like if they get like really good RNG and their procs come off, they can be like at the top of boards. But if they get bad RNG, they're like all the way at the bottom. So if you average it, they're kind of average or maybe below average damage.
I wouldn't even put it as A, because you can have that bad day where you just get terrible RNG and you just suck and you're useless. I would pick another class. If like Inquisitor's good and you can have fun with that, and you have the utility, of course, of swapping to like a Templar or a Dragonrider if you want to clear content quicker as a tank. So it is a good alternative, and it's a fun alternative. But if we're just talking about DPS and a class as a whole, I think B is appropriate. And yeah, that's where I would put it.
I agree.
Lightbringer.
Oh yeah, okay. Here we go. I got a good one.
You done lucked out. Double S. Why?
You still double S, Lightbringer.
You still double S, my duh?
Because same reasons you were one of the best classes in the game in 1.0. Because in PvP, small scale, large scale, you still do crap tons of damage. You still use that tier 1 set, get that crazy crit and crit damage increase on your main skill. You do enough burst heals. Like the only place this class suffers is in slant dungeons. And I think if that's the only weakness to a class, it can belong in double S, because all these other classes have at least one weakness.
Yeah, that literally is probably, that's the only weakness I can think of that a Lightbringer has. It's just
absolutely
slant dungeons, which we really don't do anymore anyway because they slowed down the rollout of Overlord dungeons. So Lightbringer is just a fantastic class, amazing class. Next up, Marksman. I would put them. I want to put them in double S, but I'm going to put them in S, and like a high S, and here's the reason why. They have the best ultimate in the entire game. The highest burst damage in the entire game, but it is confined. It's unlike the Frost Whisper, who has it on demand at all times. The Marksman has an insane ultimate, but it's just confined to the ultimate. And Levi, what does it do? Explain what it does, because you do a great job of explaining that.
With the Marksman ultimate, you get a big haste boost. I want to say 40%, but I don't want to say 100%. That's what it is, because I forget, but I'm pretty sure it's 40% haste. You get 50% crit damage. Your mark shot bounces between like 5 targets. There's something else in there too. Either way, you could just get 5 kills each mark shot. Like, it's crazy how much damage you do.
Yeah,
I know we have a friend, Lego, one of the top marksmen on the server. I think he actually is the top marksman on the server.
He's the top, yeah.
He went and tested on the target dummies on on the group of them, and he had like 1.2 million DPS after 15 seconds, which of course is just burst with his ultimate, and it's not sustained. But just that burst alone in a siege, like, you get so many kills. It's absurd. 1.2 million.
That's insane. And it's really fun too. And the reason why I like the Marksman, and the reason why I put it in S as opposed to SS is because their damage kind of falls off. So they have a high amount of burst damage, but if you have like let's say a 10-minute fight, in the beginning, undisputed top damage, probably for the first like 4 or 5 minutes, and then they slowly just start to fall off. So, and then their next burst phase is kind of a ways away, because they have to build up their ultimate and get it there. And I think they have what am I saying? They have increased damage modifiers in the very beginning of the fight too, it's like percentage based on your target's health. So they pop off in the beginning, but then they fall off late. Super high burst. It's kind of like a Frost Whisper version of the Demon Hunter. And also, you don't get Carpal Tunnel when you play this class because you can cast with it. With the Demon Hunter, you're literally I don't know how people do it. It's so hard. Like, my thumb is killing me. Even on PC, I'm dead by the time I go through like a 2-minute rotation as a Demon Hunter. But Marksman, you have aim shot and you have other abilities that you can cast, and it makes it kind of more fun to play. And then that added burst potential is really, really fun, especially in PvP. So I would put them in S just because they fall off late fight, but they're overall a fantastic class. And that probably is going to change in the future with recent updates, but I'll leave it there. Next up is
I think that's good.
I think it's good. Necromancer's up next. We're almost done. Let's try to make our way through this.
Necromancer, yeah,
because we got somewhere to be in a few minutes, aka Siege. But
so Necromancer, I would definitely put that in S tier. Like, they're fantastic. I would say it's close to SS, but I don't think they're strongest of classes in SS. They just do so much dot damage, and it just adds up. Like, the DPS of this class is crazy. If you have a necro damage just as geared out as Blademaster, Frost Whisper, they're doing like as much damage.
Yeah,
they're just not like as great in PvP as the other two classes. That's why I would say they're a little bit lower. But in PvE, they are fantastic. They are hands down the best DPS for slant overlords, or slant in general.
Yeah, they're like all dots, and they're really hard hitting dots. Yeah,
absolutely.
I actually kind of secretly want to play Necromancer, but we'll talk about that later.
Honestly, me too. I'm with you there. All right.
And that's because they can also go Vampire, which we'll talk about in a minute. But the Saint's the next one. I want to put the Saint in S, honestly. And
Yeah.
let me know if you disagree, but the reason I put Saint in S is because, well, first of all, it doesn't do damage. It's not an SS because it doesn't do damage. But I put it in S because it provides really, really good buffs, like attack damage, haste, and then you get also a crit damage buff. I think it's 30%, I believe, if memory serves me correct. And the thing about the Saint is they have their ranged heals and their AoE burst heals. So they can basically, if the whole raid takes damage, they can top everybody up pretty much immediately. And the wonderful thing about the Saint is this is the most free-to-play friendly character, or class rather, in the entire game. It's a pure healer. They don't do damage. You don't even need a legendary weapon to be effective with them. You just need to, you can take your time gearing up, and they will beat every single healer on the healing meters every single time. They do the most AoE heals. It's all burst, and you can do it from range. You don't need to stack up. You don't need to do all these other things. So at least having a Saint in the party, I say, is an incredibly safe crutch to have when you're raiding. They kind of struggle in small scale PvP, but the larger the group gets, the better the Saint gets, and so that's something to keep in mind. And that's why I wouldn't put them in SS, is because of their kind of lackluster performance as it pertains to small scale PvP.
All right.
Spellblade. Go ahead,
Spellblade.
buddy.
Let's go to A. I think Spellblade, you're a pretty awesome class. You are still hands down the best class for small scale PvP. Like nothing can compete. Nothing can compete with Spellblade.
No, I just get so mad. I get
one
so
shot
mad.
3 people back to back to back. But that's the only thing they're great at. Like they're not that great at PvE. They're pretty bad in large scale PvP. They're just, if you just want a class that will annoy the heck out of anybody whenever you're queuing up for PvP or you're killing Infection Island, then choose a Spellblade. But just know that's all you're going to be doing super efficiently.
Yeah, and that's it. Shadow Dancer next. I'll let you go ahead and slot this one just because it's your class as well.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Shadow Dancer, that's going to S, because you can still, you're not as menacing as a Spellblade in small scale PvE, or PvP, but you're still pretty scary. Mm-hmm. And in PvE, you're also one of the top damage. You're not as much as the other classes in S or double S, but the thing is, this class is so well rounded, is good at everything. You're going to be up there as a Shadow.
Yeah, I totally agree. Next up is Templar. Now, I want to slot this one higher, either high S or SS.
I wouldn't go to SS. I'd say, but I think it's fair in smack dab middle of S, personally.
Smack dab upper middle S, and that's S. Because they're and I want your feedback too, Levi. But I think that when you look at tanks again, we're not having tank death issues. Tanks aren't just falling over and dying because of their class. Every tank, if you're a tank, can pretty much survive, even if you're a friggin' Dragonrider, okay? That sounded kind of mean. I'm sorry about that. But Templars have a lot of utility. They have their bubble. They have really, really good, I think it's long-range taunts. So if you're looking at like they can get on their horse and charge people down and knock over an entire group of people in PvP. Like in terms of utility, the Templar is just a really good tank, and I'm always happy whenever I have a Templar tanking for me. What do you say, Levi?
I absolutely agree that long range single target taunt is invaluable, and the horse, for them to move around faster, maybe it's not as good as Blink, but it's still up there. It's pretty awesome.
Agree. Next up is Vampire. Go ahead. Just have some fun.
Vampire. All right, let's go. Double S, baby.
Double
Vampire,
S.
Best healer in the game. With the changes with the patch, now their Shadow Mend is like 5 or 6, I think 6 targets.
It's
so they
so
can just
stupid.
Instantly burst heal people up. They have Fade to Mist. Their buffs are crazy good. They even do some damage in AoE, like a lot of damage in AoE with Blood Boil. So in sieges, they're awesome. There's nothing that this class is weak in. It's so good. It's so good. They might actually, let me take that back. They're a little bit weak in small scale PvP, but overall, this class is fantastic. Best healer in the game.
Do you remember when I said I kind of wanted to secretly be a Necromancer?
I know why.
I actually want to be a vampire. Dude, they're so good. They don't even need to deal, like, they're a DPS healing class like the Lightbringer, but their heals don't scale with the damage they do. They just heal. They just top you up to full with one ability instantly. Even if you're slanted, you're topping up your party. they're crazy. Like, they're crazy. Fade to Mist, like Levi said, they go completely immune to avoid one-shot mechanics. And then I love this class. I'm sorry. We'll stop talking about it. Next, Vanguard.
Your turn, buddy.
Oh gosh, a lot of people are going to be really upset with me. I'm going to put the Vanguard in A. Let me explain this to you. If we're talking about tanks that are just pure survivability, okay, survivability, and the ones that definitely will never die, it's the Vanguard. The Vanguard is hands down the best tank in terms of survival. They have the best mitigations. They have the best damage reductions. They're the best. You will never see a Vanguard die. You won't. And even if they do, they have an ability that basically you go to 0 and then they just don't die and then they just heal back up. I think that happens one time. I'm probably wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure if memory serves me correct, that's what we're dealing with. The Vanguard's the best tank in terms of not dying. But when you compare it to other tanks, and this is what we're doing, we're comparing classes to other classes of the same type. Their utility is just not as good as, let's say, a Battlemage or a Templar. And that's because, again, the Templar has that single target, long range taunt. The Battlemage has blink for utility. And if we're looking at a Vanguard, Vanguard's kind of like, let's say there's a fight like, what is it, Warhammer Hall or Abyss? I forgot which one it was called, with Alex, the big Scorpion King, right?
Yep, Warhammer Hall.
Warhammer Hall. He goes into the purple phase where he sits in the center and the two ads come out. That Vanguard has to literally run all the way up to that Scorpion that spawns, that when the two Scorpions come out, and he's got to pull it. If he's lucky enough to get the taunt off, he's got to pull it and then run all the way to the other side. But if you're like a Templar, you can just straight up, you're there, boom, you just long range taunt him and he comes right to you. You save a lot of time on DPS and things like that, and so it's purely just for utility. Vanguards will never let you down. They'll never let you down when it comes to like overlords and even raids. They'll never let you down. They're going to be the best survivability, hands down. But if we're looking at it and we're factoring in that utility, that's why the Vanguard is going to be a little bit lower than the Templar and the Battlemage.
Absolutely.
All right. So
last class.
I'm getting a few people a few people are gonna unsubscribe after that one. I'm sorry, but let's go to Weapon Master.
Weapon Master. Okay. Well, let's go ahead.
They're so testy. The tanks are so testy.
I say let's go ahead and add a triple S tier for insane.
Okay. If we're talking about our friend Insane, he just transcends all of these. And we'll drop them off screen, okay? But if it's a normal Weapon Master, where we put them?
Yeah, I would say S tier for Weapon Master.
S tier.
I think this class is fantastic PvE damage. They lack in pretty much all aspects of PvP. They can do work. Like, trust me, whenever I first started this game, I'm like, Weapon Master is the most broken thing ever. And they are good. Like, they can do work, but you have to play them really well, really carefully, and they're just Frost Whisper food. Like, Frost Whispers eat them alive.
Yep, that's true. Anything else to say about the Weapon Master? Like, why wouldn't it go SS?
Because overall they're pretty weak in PvP, and in PvE they're melee, which means they're melee and they don't have dots. So that means when they're running away from the boss, they're doing 0 damage.
That's true. And again, when it comes to Weapon Masters, like we have friends. Like I have a friend Varu, slays people. Okay, PvP guy. So you can definitely, when it comes to the Weapon Master, do some work. And again, we have a friend named Insane. He's like severely undergeared as compared to some of our other DPS, and he does the same, if not more than them. So
he's crazy.
He knows that he's a nerd though. He goes to the dummies and grinds them. So the Weapon Master has the potential to be phenomenal DPS. And I wonder if this will change once we see somebody who's like super geared out as a Weapon Master learn Insane's rotation. Sorry, dude, I'm bringing you some attention now. Learn Insane's rotation or whatever secret he's got there going on. But his like it's not normal. Like Insane's damage is not normal. There's something going on there. And if somebody was super geared, I wonder where the Weapon Master would be. Like I wonder where he'd be if he had let's say Raven's Blade Master or Weapon Master. That's a terrifying thought, isn't it, Levi?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so that concludes it. We made our way through as quickly as we could. And so I just want to encourage you guys, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell. I'm working hard to put out good quality content for this game, and it's my aim to teach you about the game. to help you understand the classes and understand, you know, the boss fights that come up. And so I would really appreciate it if you subscribed. And also, if this video was helpful, like it. Even if you disagree with me, I'm doing this just because I want to kind of start a conversation. So start a conversation, comment section down below. Please don't take any of this personally. This isn't like a personal slight against your classes. Dude, I'm just thinking, what I'm looking at the C tier right now: Berserker, Exarch, Firefrost, and Gladiator. Like smack a Dragonrider in there and see if they can clear some dungeons.
That party can still get stuff done.
That party can get stuff done. That's what I'm saying. It's gonna be okay. This is just our opinion. Please interact in the comment section down below. Like the video if you enjoyed, and I just want to give a thanks to my friend MrLevi, who helped me kind of theory craft and put all this together. You're the man, my dude. Do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I'll say one thing. I'm the best. I'm kidding. No, thanks for having me. I had a fun time doing all this.
That was fun, dude. Do stuff like this more often.
Alrighty.
I think we have a siege in like 4 minutes, so we need to go. Okay, bye.
We absolutely do. See ya.
Bye.